Welcome to another edition of HorseCenter, everyone. I am Brian Zipsy, and as always, I have the terrific pleasure of being joined by my friend, partner, and co-host, Matt Schiffman. How are you today, Matt?
I'm doing well, Brian, and I'm looking forward to hanging out with you at HorseCenter.
Hanging out at HorseCenter, Matt. That's our new motto. I hope a lot of people are hanging out with HorseCenter this week, Matt. We're going to talk Kentucky Derby doings. The preps are in full force now. We had 3 graded stakes preps last weekend, 2 grade 2s, 1 grade 3, all around the country, Matt. And I thought the best of them all was probably the one in South Florida. It was the grade 2 Holy Bull, and Audible, a New York bred son of Into Mischief, made it a 1-horse race.
He sure did. On Super Bowl weekend, the Todd Pletcher trainer certainly pulled an Audible as far as I was concerned, because I guess I was a little bit surprised by the way that he won that race. I was a little surprised that he won that race. He came into the Holy Bull with, good credentials, not great credentials, with a maiden win at Aqueduct and then an allowance win in a 4-horse field. So I guess I wasn't expecting to see him win so decisively.
Yeah, well, he was bet almost as much as the horses that he finished second, third, and fourth. Enticed, Tis Mischief, and Free Drop Billy were also bet, all 4 of them. But yeah, Audible really did his thing. Now, 2 races, I'm with you. We couldn't tell because he had a couple races against New York breds in maiden races up there where he ran third the first time and then he won. Neither were overly impressive. And then it was that strange race. I believe it was taken off the turf. It was an allowance race late in the year in New York. He won by open lengths, but like you said, it was small field, and he was just a gigantic favorite. So coming out of New York bred maiden races, we had to feel like that race didn't have much in it for sure. And being that he won by 9 or 10 lengths, you weren't sure what to make of it. But I guess Audible's getting better with every start, and this start, now we have to really take notice because this start was good, Matt. He was out there on a contested lead, pressuring that lead. I noticed Enticed came up to him on the back stretch, and then, of course, Free Drop Billy came up to him on the turn, and he had answers for both parries and thrusts there. And then in the stretch, he really came home fast.
Yeah, he sure did. Brian, in handicapping the race, kind of, just before the race went off, the more I looked at the past performances and the odds, the more I liked Free Drop Billy in there. And as the race was running and they were heading into the final turn, getting ready to go to the stretch, Free Drop Billy made a nice move, and Audible had some challenges. Honestly, Brian, I thought Free Drop Billy was going right by Audible and was going to run away with the race, but it sure didn't happen that way. I don't know what that says, if that just says that Audible was way better or Free Drop Billy was not at 100% in there. But regardless, like you said, Audible turned away a lot of challenges and drew off down the stretch and was a very impressive winner.
Absolutely. So the New York bred Audible, there have been some impressive New York breds early 2-year-old season into the 3-year-old season. Champagne for Ashley never worked out. I'm going back here a few years, folks. Pardon me. And then, of course, Bonnie's side very much did work out. So now another high-profile New York bred to put onto our Kentucky Derby watch list. Audible moves right in. This was a strong performance no matter how you slice it. He didn't need the lead, but he showed good pace. And then he, like I said, he finished up very strongly, leaving stakes horses, Free Drop Billy, Tis Mischief, Enticed, behind, and in most of those cases, quite a bit behind. Free Drop Billy was a clear second, but nowhere near the winner. Maybe Free Drop Billy first start of the year was a little short. I thought he was going to win on the turn as well, just like you. That Big White Blaze looked tough, but Audible turned him away. Now, one thing about Audible, it seems like they're only going to run one more time before the Derby, which I don't love. Looks like the Florida Derby probably will be his one and only prep from here out before the Kentucky Derby. So we'll see. Of course, Todd Pletcher has had luck with Florida Derby or Florida horses before last year, always dreaming. We'll see. But Audible for now, obviously, is a horse to reckon with. Free drop Billy, decent return. Didn't like the way he was taken down hard in the stretch, but a decent enough return. He can move forward. His Mischief and Entice, both coming out of the Kentucky Jockey Club, Matt, were nothing but disappointments in my eyes.
I agree with that, Brian. You know, the Dale Romans runners thus far are coming up a little short. There are more to come, and I think we'll talk about another one when we get to the Sam F. Davis.
Absolutely, yeah. Romans probably isn't thrilled, but on the other hand, he ran second and third in the Holy Bull. If he moves forward, Seven Trumpets, another one. If he moves forward off his loss in the Jerome, and then yes, we're going to talk a little bit about Hollywood Star. Entice made it a split decision day kind of day for Karen McLaughlin, and that goes off, and we're going to talk about that more too, Matt. But first, let's go out to the other Grade 2 Derby prep. That was out in West Coast, California, Santa Anita. It was the Robert B. Lewis. We said going in, the field looked rather weak. Most of the top California prospects simply were not in this race for whatever reason. They were looking at Shiver Me Timbers and Peace as favorites. They didn't do much. It was a son of Gradar. It's nice to see Gradar have a nice graded stakes winner early in his sire career. The horse's name is Lambo. He was coming out of 2 sprints, Matt. I'm still not high in this race, so Lambo. Ayakara, a horse with a bunch of turf path performances, rallied pretty nicely on the rail. Time came up slow. What do you make of the Lewis, if anything?
I agree with you, Brian. I don't think we're seeing any serious Derby contenders in that race. Lambo, you know, named after his owner, Michael Lombardo, got on the lead, took him wire to wire, slow fraction, slow race. And like you said, Ayakara made a big closing move from the back of the pack. I think passing a lot of tired horses in there. I think you and I will have to wait for the first string California horses to show up in the next round of Derby preps in California. Although, you know, I think there are some horses with some talent that haven't run in stakes yet that maybe will stick their heads out soon.
Yeah, I think there are better California horses and prep races to come, no doubt. We'll keep our eyes on Lambo and Ayakara because at least they ran pretty well, one on the lead, one from coming off the lead. Final time, 145.41. Pretty slow out there at Santa Anita, although maybe the track was playing a little slower than usual. It should be noted that in Lambo's first race, he was third to Axeman, and Axeman is a much more highly regarded horse. Maybe this flatters Axeman a little bit, and Lambo has one of his next two, including the Lewis. But yeah, both Matt and I see this prep as something that won't matter to Hill of Beans as far as the Kentucky Derby. But congratulations to the connections. Michael Pender trains Lambo, by the way, Matt. Now, another prep was the Grade 3 Withers, back on the East Coast, back where you were, Matt. And I think we saw some good horses in the Withers. Certainly the winner, Avery Island, the son of Street Sense, backed up his good 2-year-old form with a strong performance on Saturday at the Big End.
Yeah, he certainly did. And I'll tell you what, Brian, Avery Island, who is a son of Street Sense, is a really, really big horse. And I didn't notice that until after the race when he came down for the winner's circle picture. So this is a horse that, with his running style, being able to get out front and contend with challenges on the front end like he did in the Withers when Colton, Mississippi got sent hard from Todd Pletcher because he had 3 in there to try and set things up. So Avery Island didn't have it easy on the front end in the first half mile or so, but wasn't fazed by that pressure from Colton, Mississippi, and ran a really nice race. I see Avery Island as a horse that is going to get better as he continues to grow into that big frame. I mean, there's less than 3 months now to the Derby, so maybe that difference in growth will come later on. But taking that into consideration, I was impressed by his victory.
Yeah, Colt Mississippi pressured him early. I think Avery Island was able to relax a little bit off Colt Mississippi, at least a little bit, and I think that helped him. A physical specimen, that he's bred to the hill. Street Sense, of course, was a champion, a Kentucky Derby winner. On the female side, he's out of an AP Indy mare, of course, which is great breeding, Seattle Slew, and AP Indy's wonderful female family, and AP Indy's heritage. Kind of Spicy was a very talented mare who unfortunately wasn't able to stick around long on the racetrack, but obviously a talented mare. So Avery Island has the looks and the pedigree to be any kind. Having said that, I think his races are good, including the Withers and the Natural Win and the second in the Remsen, but not something that's going to make me jump up and put him in at the very top of the Kentucky Derby list right now. This was a good performance. Kieran McLaughlin, Godolphin should be happy, especially compared to what Entice did down in the Holy Bull. But I still want to see more, and maybe we will. Like you say, the frame and the pedigree, Avery Island could be a horse that still gets better. I think he'll need to improve, I guess is what I'm saying, off this Withers win. But he did beat some good horses. Frenzy Fire obviously is a good horse. He tried Avery Island to no avail on the turn and early in the stretch. Frenzy Fire gives the impression of, as a lot of horses do, Matt, of a really nice horse who probably doesn't want 9 furlongs or more. Probably not a real Kentucky Derby contender, but it's certainly a horse who can win a lot of money.
Yeah, no doubt about that, Brian. Frenzy Fire going in, a lot of people were already saying maybe better as a one-turn horse. But at this point, he's got 24 points, and he's tied for the top of the points list with Good Magic. And, you know, he's the kind of horse that nowadays, and I know the owner of Frenzy Fire really wants to get to the Derby, so they're going to run in another one to try and pick up a few more points. Marconi was in there also, the big son of Tappet, and boy, he's a big horse, and again, he's a horse that to my eye has a lot of growing up to do. Just walking in the paddock before they went out to the track, he tripped over his own feet a little bit, but you know, he made a run down the stretch. We know the distances are going to be good for him. I don't know if he's going to be ready in time for the Derby, Brian, but certainly a horse with talent.
Yeah, Matt, that's good information about Marconi, and we can see it in his races. Half brother to Mucho Macho Man, the son of Tappet, also a big, imposing individual. His 3 races are pretty similar in where he's braking awkwardly, braking slow, swinging to the outside, making up ground, running on pretty well in the stretch. He really does give indications of a horse screaming out for distance, but I think as much as anything, he's also a horse who needs to mature and needs to find his best athletic prowess, if you will, because I think there's obviously a ton of talent there. And for him to be pretty much lapped on Frenzy Fire, not that far from Avery Island at this point, his 3rd race of his life, those who are looking for Marconi to become something very good, I think should be happy with what they saw in this 3rd place run in the Withers. And Marconi continues to be a horse that a lot of us think will become a real, true graded stakes horse. I'm with you. I don't know if that's going to translate to the first Saturday in May in Kentucky, but Marconi is an interesting horse to keep an eye on, no doubt, as is the winner, Avery Island, a good winner of the Withers. Matt, Avery Island, I think also what he did in winning the National, winning the Withers, and running clear second in the Remsen is flattered the Remsen winner. Very nice turf horse, the son of More Than Ready, named Catholic Boy. Catholic Boy hasn't run since he easily defeated Avery Island back in the Rumsey Stakes at Aqueduct. We're going to see the return of Catholic Boy, a stakes winner on turf, a stakes winner on dirt for trainer Jonathan Thomas this Saturday at Tampa Bay Downs.
Yeah, and again, we've got a nice field in Sam F. Davis. Four nice horses, and I think any of the four have a shot in the race. We talked a little bit about Catholic Boy. We also have Vino Rosa in there, who is 2 for 2 in his career, a son of Curlin, won an allowance race at Tampa Bay, trained by Todd Pletcher. Todd Pletcher owns this Sam F. Davis. He's won it 6 times in the past, including 2 years ago with Destin, who we know went on to run a good Kentucky Derby and then win the Belmont Stakes. Vino Rosso, 2 races, I guess kind of gives you that feel of Audible. I wasn't wowed by either of those races, but Pletcher knows how to get him ready for the big races, and his horses compete. We got Hollywood Star in there, a son of Malibu Moon, for Dale Romans, training very, very well also. I like this horse a lot. A closer, just like Catholic Boy. And then there's Flame Away, who, in my eyes, is the big wild card in the race. Is a Scat Daddy from Mark Casse, won 4 times already in 6 starts, twice on the turf. He's won twice on muddy, wet tracks in races that came off of the turf, and had a disappointing but troubled trip on a faster track. So the question with Flame Away is, does he like a fast dirt track? He's got early speed. If he does, he could get loose on the lead.
Flame Away is obviously a versatile horse and an interesting addition. Mark Casse, of course, wins a lot of races at Tampa Bay Downs. So you have him to worry about. Hollywood Star was obviously a good 2-year-old. Dale Romans, as he told us, had very high hopes for Hollywood Star from the beginning. If he progresses, he finished kind of middle of the pack in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile in his last start. But if he progresses, the son of Malibu Moon certainly can be a major force on the 3-year-old here. I don't like either of those two bets down here, but I certainly respect their chances in the Sam F. Davis Saturday. Vino Rosso scares me. He does give the indication of a horse ready to get good. He won't be favored with Catholic Boy in there, but in my mind, Vino Rosso might even be the horse to beat for Todd Pletcher. So watch out for him for sure. So Catholic Boy is going to have his running shoes on. Catholic Boy is a really, really nice-looking horse, and I like the fact that he showed a lot of talent right from the get-go, albeit on turf, and has run consistently no matter where he's run. So Catholic Boy probably is for real. I know some people even have him tops on their Kentucky Derby list to show you a little bit about his physicality and what he's accomplished so far, working well down there. So should be a very fun race, Matt. I just have a feeling Vino Rosso is going to be another one of those Pletchers that we find out is for real come Saturday at Tampa Bay. So that'll be interesting. Speaking of for real 3-year-olds, I'm not sure about distance yet, but the son of Spikestown, Strike Power, after a huge maiden win at 5.5 furlongs, he comes back with an impressive win at the Swale 6 weeks later at 7 furlongs. Matt, Strike Power is a really good-looking, well-talented horse. I guess the only question now about Strike Power is, does he want to go 8, 9, 10 furlongs?
Yeah, and he's still got some lessons to learn, because as impressively as he dispatched that field, he didn't switch leads coming down the stretch, so he looked a little tired there. What's going on with that, we'll find out. I think if I was entering Strike Power next, I'd be looking at the Gotham to give more distance a shot. It's a 1-turn mile. Should be a perfect spot for Strike Power.
I've heard that the Fountain of Youth might be an option for him as well, Matt, but obviously Mark Hennig has a talented runner in Strike Power. Again, it's on its Batestown, and out of a Medaglia mare, this Portland Farms talented horse, 5.5 furlongs, 7 furlongs. He's done them both easily, right? He didn't look great the last 1/8 of a mile, but I tell you, I like the looks physically, and he's the way he put away some fast sprinters in there was impressive. So I want to see more from Strike Power. Whether he turns out to be a 1-turn or 2-turn horse down the road, we'll have to see. But it looks like they're going to give chances for him to be a 2-turn horse at least. Matt, other things that we saw this weekend, I think that we need to talk about on the Kentucky Oaks front. We probably have an early Kentucky Oaks favorite. She's not #1 on my Kentucky Oaks list for sure, but Dream Tree, Bob Baffert trained, daughter of Uncle Mo, ran her record to 4 for 4 with her second straight impressive graded stakes win. That came in the loss for Jenny's at Santa Anita, although the time was a little bit slow.
Yeah, talk about visually impressive races. That certainly was, because Dream Tree just toyed with that field and cruised by them on the turn and opened up easily, just doing it all on her own, not really being asked at all by the jockey. Very impressive. I don't think that was the toughest field in the world, but certainly a very nice horse.
A nice filly, and like I said, probably the Oaks favorite. I didn't really like what I saw the last 1/8 of a mile. I know it was easy, so we'll have to see if that was just her really eased up, or if there is an issue as she stretches out longer. The horse she tangled with the first couple of times in her career, Midnight Basue, actually is a horse I really like for the Oaks even more, and everything they've done since they've split up has been nothing but impressive. So Dream Tree, certainly Kentucky Oaks filly. Watch out for her friend Midnight Basue as well. It reminds me a little bit of Unique Bella last year. I think Unique Bella had even more ink. And we're going to see Unique Bella again this week, Matt. She's stretching out. She's going to set sail in the Santa Maria as one of the interesting races out in Southern California. So it'll be nice to see Unique Bella come back. Matt, I see a lot of people, half the people say she's a sprinter, half the people say she can get 2 turns. I'm in the camp that thinks Unique Bella can get 2 turns. What do you think?
I don't see any reason to feel that she can't get 2 turns. She was, when those questions are, started to come up about the 2 turns, she was coming back. She was facing some really good horses. So let's let her have a nice campaign this year and show her stuff. She, Jerry Hollendorfer, nobody will figure that out better than him.
Absolutely. Jerry Hollendorfer is one of the nation's best trainers. We'll learn more about Unique Bella's ability to go longer this weekend. I think Mopatism is going to be in there, so the Santa Maria should be a decent test for the much talked about Unique Bella, who was the female sprint champion of 2017, which surprised me a little bit, but she is a major talent. Speaking of major talents, that's what we might see in the San Vicente, also at Santa Anita this weekend, Matt. Now, this 7 furlong 3-year-old race carries no Kentucky Derby points, but a lot of good horses have used this as a springboard to 2-turn races and on to the Triple Crown. This year, it's just really a race of horses who are looking to prove themselves, but show a lot of talent. I mentioned Axeman before. He's the one in there that most interests me as a potential really good horse.
Yeah, I agree with that, Brian. And I was a little bit surprised that we didn't see Axeman's name on the list of horses in the Kentucky Derby Future Pool 2. Every once in a while, they like to put in an up-and-comer like that, and I thought Axeman was going to be on that list. So it'll be exciting to see if he stamps himself as a contender in that race at Santa Anita this weekend.
Absolutely, and it's now or never for these. I think these horses that are running in San Vicente, if they can't show us something this weekend at Santa Anita, they probably won't get the chance to gain major points going to the Kentucky Derby, and whether they were sprinters or going long. But there's a few of them in there that have some potential, and Axman, I think, leads the bunch for me. So we'll see him in the San Vicente. And speaking of major talent sprinting, Matt, we need to mention Roy H., who just has been an amazing sprinter the last little over a year. To be honest with you, last year he was a 5-year-old gelded son of More Than Ready. I had never heard of him at this point last year, but his year was really, really good. I think people don't appreciate how well he ran last year. His only loss, he really had all kinds of trouble caused by Jerfon throwing his rider and then bothering him when he finished second in the Bing Crosby. Otherwise, Roy H. had a perfect year last year. And if we want to talk about horses winning graded stakes easily, I think we have to talk about Roy H. and his return from the Palos Verdes.
Yeah, like you said, Brian, if it wasn't for that, he would, and he'd won that Bing Crosby, he'd now have 7 wins in a row. He's got 3 in a row now, and 2 of them were grade 1s, and one of them was the Breeders' Cup, and he's a champion. It's a great story to see a horse blossom and come into his own as a 5-year-old and now 6-year-old. We've talked about it before. Horses can do great things if they stay healthy and they're given the opportunity to run later on in their careers as 4-year-old, 5-year-old, 6-year-old, and of course he runs for Peter Miller, who it's nice to see, who had such a tough time in fire at San Luis Rey Training Center.
Absolutely. Good for Peter Miller. Good for Rockingham Ranch, the owners. Roy H. is obviously hasn't lost a step from his Eclipse Award-winning season last year. This Palos Verdes, it was a small field, but there were some talented sprinters in there, and he basically treated them badly, Matt. It was a matter of how much he was going to win by. He did it so easily and quite fast. Looks like it's on to Dubai for Roy H. We're going to send our best sprinter over. The Dubai Golden Shaheen, of course, is big money, and we'll wish Roy H. well late next month when he is one of many American horses to make the trip over to Dubai for the Dubai Golden Shaheen. Matt, it's mostly about Kentucky Derby this year, though, and we're going to keep talking Derby to you right here on HorseCenter, so we hope that you tune in every week. Again, subscribe to our YouTube channel here at Horse Racing Nation. Our sponsor, Derby Wars, we want to thank them, the best contest site out there. Matt, how about a closing shot from you on this chilly Wednesday morning in February?
In the world of thoroughbred racing, every day is a Derby day, Brian Zipsy, and even though it's close to 3 months to the Derby, it's time for these horses to start showing their stuff. And as always, I want to thank Brett Workman for helping us make HorseCenter a great show.
Well done, well said, well done, sir. Thank you to Brett Workman, and of course, thank you for watching every week here on HorseCenter. We will be back next week talking Kentucky Derby doing. See you then.